Trump hits back at Harris with Kamala's Project 2025. Okay, so this is pretty ingenious. This happened a few days ago. So we all know by this point that there was, from the Heritage Foundation, a 900-page PDF that was published several months ago that many socially conservative influencers and a few elected officials published, where it was sort of a combination book where each person wrote up their own policy recommendation or their own ideas that they would like to see a traditional social conservative presidential administration, put out there. And some of their ideas are pretty center. Some of them are a little further to the right from a social conservative perspective, and then others are just plain good ideas. It's kind of a hodgepodge, like a lot of these compilation books are. And we've seen these before. In fact, I have several books on my shelf that are multiple authors contributing a single chapter to a book, and some of the chapters contradict each other. But it's more so we want to get an expert's opinion on each of these ideas. And that's what the Project 2025 PDF from the Heritage Foundation really is. Now, what's interesting is that because of the loose affiliations and some prior relationships that Donald J. Trump has with some of the individuals who authored a chapter or multiple sections of this book, there's now an entire conspiracy theory that first Biden and now Harris and the entire Democratic Party have absolutely run with, where this open agenda to roll back all manner of civil liberties and rights and so on and so forth. And it's a secret agenda. And of course he's denying it. Like, this happened pretty close to the beginning, where there was a denial that he was associated with it. And he completely distanced himself from it because it's not associated with Donald J. Trump or the campaign. And instead he pointed out that Agenda 47, which I think is a list of 20 bullets, and first 5 or so are related to immigration. Yeah. So his campaign is very clearly about immigration and the economy. Meanwhile, because of the social conservative views, religious views of some of the influencers who wrote this up, as sort of, hey, we would really like a conservative president to do this stuff. We're going to call it Project 2025. Terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea. And the reason it's a terrible idea is because it's so easy to build a conspiracy theory around this. So for months, Democrats have been pushing the conspiracy that this is the secret agenda. Like, okay, it's secret. No, it's not. It was put out by the Trump campaign. No, it wasn't. It's as if the Heritage Foundation, I don't know this, but it's as if the optics are the Heritage Foundation wants to help Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris. That seems to be the position. That is the sort of thing that you would do if you want to undermine your own candidate, which is what Project 2025 does. The PDF, the 900-page PDF, which, come on, obviously Trump hasn't read that. That's the purpose. That's the evident purpose, is to undermine him. Now, it's not uncommon to do this, by the way, where one's own side will publish, here's what I think you should do, recommendations. In fact, now, not to say that this is undermining, but the influencer, Breitbart editor, or Breitbart contributor writer named Joel Pollak, he wrote a book called, I believe it's called The First 100 Days. And it's his ideas about what Trump should do. The first 100 days of a presidency, right? So the Project 2025 thing is a thing in that other people are doing it. Everyone wants to push their agenda, push it out there, right? And some of these agendas are more helpful than others. But if you want to know what the plan is, we'll just look at Agenda 47. And the first 25% of the list, the bullets, are related to the immigration. Almost 60% of them are directly related to the economy, and the rest have to do with the catastrophic healthcare situation in the country. So it's immigration, economy, and healthcare. Those are the 3 priorities that everybody cares about. Like, it's an inclusive message. Agenda 47. 47 referring to the fact that Trump would be the 47th president of the United States should he win. Now, this conspiracy theory, this hoax, has made it to Kamala Harris's website. It says, the time is short. Project 2025 website. The plan begins with a sweeping takeover of the federal government to consolidate power under Donald Trump. Right, this is absurd. So we've dispelled the conspiracy theory now. We have. But in order to, and Scott Adams pointed this out, Donald Trump tweeted an infographic of Kamala's Project 2025, such as banning guns, supporting citizenship for 20 million illegal immigrants, and so forth. These sort of obscene, far-left, radical, quasi-communist objectives. Now, what is interesting is each of them is taken from or inspired by something that Kamala has said herself in the last few years. So, for example, the government seizing your guns is based on something that she said back in 2018, 2019, where she had said in an interview that the federal government ought to be able to barge into your home unannounced to just check and make sure you're a responsible gun owner. And if they don't like the way that your guns are stored, or they don't like anything about you, then they have fiat to take your guns, completely stripping the Constitution of its Second Amendment. So what's funny is Kamala is out here claiming that Trump wants to destroy the Constitution. Meanwhile, like, that is precisely what they're doing. Tucker Carlson has said many times that there's this law of woke projection, which is when the left accuses the right of something, it's based on their own expectations of what they plan to do or have done. And like, well, if we wanted total power over you, this is what we would do. So this is what we're going to accuse you of, right? And so what's interesting now is each of them has their own Project 2025. So now what's going to happen when it counts over the next 5 to 6 weeks, which is how much time we have before the election, the next 6 weeks or so, 5 6 weeks at the time of this recording. Now Kamala gets to try to dispel this. She gets to defend against these accusations. And Republican influencers, conservative influencers, now get to go back and to get to tie what's in that infographic to statements that Kamala has said, to incense and outrage people. Like, wait, she wants to do all of this stuff? It's a sort of a list-based persuasion, right? Where it's like 900 pages of terrible ideas that Trump's going to do when he takes office and destroy the Constitution. This is what has been said. Like, look at all this, 900 pages. Oh, it sounds like this comprehensive, ridiculous sort of plan. But if you don't understand the context of it, if you don't understand that it is a known thing to do, to write up your own piece about what Trump should do. I mean, I did this myself, by the way. I posted a thread on Twitter, now called X, in July of 2023 with my own suggestions and recommendations. Now, the context there was a book. Like, if I were ghostwriting a book for President Trump, what I would have it be about. And I suggested calling it America 2099, or more appropriately, America 2076. And it's something like making America great end of the 22nd century, something like that. And it'd be about a vision, but it was based directly on things that he had said, like flying cars and freedom cities, and those sorts of known things that he had said, versus, well, here's what I think based on my values and what I stand for in my think tank, which is what the Heritage Foundation does. And as far as I know, the Heritage Foundation is associated with the neocons, the globalist warmongers and warhawks. So very much at odds with Trump. And that's probably why they're trying to influence him so much, is because he's so at odds with him. What he wants to do is so actually at odds with the neoconservative perspective. And there is a split in the Republican Party currently between the populists who want to focus on immigration, economy, and healthcare, and the neocons who want to focus on like social, conservative, religious, culture war stuff, but also exporting democracy to the Middle East where it doesn't belong, and being the world police, that sort of thing. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh yes, and maximizing profit for corporations and investors by exporting jobs overseas from the American middle class and the industrial base of the Rust Belt to Vietnam, Philippines, China, Mexico, so on and so forth, which just doesn't make any sense from a flourishing perspective. So now that you know all of this, it completely changes the Project 2025 persuasion situation. And you realize, oh, it really is just a conspiracy theory and it's wild accusations. And Kamala Harris opposes Project 2025. Yeah, so does Donald J. Trump. Okay. Now, in order to respond to this, you just do you do the same thing back, because it's effectively the only anti-Trump talking point that the left has this election cycle, because everything is so bad. The economy's bad. Job prospects are bad. Unchecked immigration is bad. Everything is bad. It's rough. It's rough. The obesity crisis that RFK Jr. has been talking so much about and has been bringing sort of crunchy liberals into the Trump world because it's such an issue. And now that part of the left has a voice, and it's only being heard by the right, which is just strange, but not when you think about it. So for the next 6 weeks, Kamala is, and her affiliates and her satellites in the media, her spokespeople in the media, or as Scott Adams likes to say, spokesweasel. Her spokesweasels in the media are now going to be talking about her Project 2025 and how it's a hoax, which does what? They're going to be using the phrase, Kamala's Project 2025 is a conspiracy theory, it's a hoax, it's not real. People are going to think it's referring to what? The original Project 2025. That is smart. You see what's happening there, right? Now, what's interesting is there is more basis for Kamala's Project 2025 infographic being legit than Trump's. And the funny thing is, it's not even Trump's. Like I said, it's social conservatives and neocons and warmongers who put that out through the Heritage Foundation. Now, not all of them, because again, the way that those things work, these sort of, each person contributes a chapter to this massive book. Like I have one of those on my shelf about voice to text technologies and predicting those for the future. And each person has a different prediction, and some of the predictions go against one another. I personally know and have worked with a few people who've contributed to the Project 2025 PDF document. The non-warmonger types. And it's fine. Everybody can do their thing. I wrote my thing on Twitter, X, July 2023. Joel Pollak did his first 100 days book, right? Everyone wants to push the administration in their own direction. I mean, lobbying, right? This is what RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, the former Democrats, are doing. And it seems to be working. Like, hey, here's some better ideas than what you had planned, or maybe you hadn't thought of these. So let's go in this direction. Let's do these things. That's cool. That's fine. Go right ahead. Free country. But the brilliance of Kamala's Project 2025 is that each of things is what she has said. At a Black Lives Matter rally, Kamala was seen and heard talking about the necessity of granting mass amnesty to illegal immigrants. And there's roughly 20 million in the country right now. Okay, so then by taking Kamala's most radical positions, sticking them into a list, it's pretty scary. Especially since they're actually based on things that she said and she's claimed that she wants to do. So now she gets to look like a flip-flopper. This is what took out John Kerry in 2004, by the way. Even though things weren't going great with Iraq and the economy at that time, was flip-flopper. The flip-flopper. Because he had reneged on several of his previous positions that were very unpopular. And said, oh, no, don't worry about that. I'm not that anymore. Don't worry about that. I'm not that at all. Oh, it's fine. Now, what is the key takeaway here from you? The key takeaway from you is, if you're not attacking, you're losing. That's the first thing. If you're not attacking, you're losing. The strongest position to be is where you are making your opponent defend themselves. And sometimes what we learn from this is the best way to defend yourself is to attack the very same issue that you're being attacked on. So, for example, if there's a feature or an aspect of your service or your product that you offer, that you sell, that is a known weakness, and you know of competitor or competitors who are attacking you on that front or positioning themselves as superior relative to what you're up to and what it is that you're able to do and what you've offered, attack on that very same one. That is your vector. That's what they're focusing on for you. So now you want to completely annihilate any and all of their concerns, their claims, their worries, their fears, all of that. And you'll go directly at what it is that they're accusing you of. So, for example, if you're being attacked for having way higher prices than anyone else, then you talk about how your opponent, your competitors, your opponent's prices are the highest, and then you adjust it for quality or for longevity, right? If your chainsaw blades are twice the price, but they last 10 years longer, or however, whatever the superior return is, then you talk about how we have the best value and they have the highest prices for value. You're paying this much for this little life, whereas you're paying this much for this much life. You see, you can do that comparison, that directly. And this is something that you do when you are being attacked, by the way. I don't necessarily think you need to go out and pick fights and attack necessarily on this issue, like say pricing with the hypothetical chainsaw blades. But if you are being attacked, if you feel like a chink in your armor, so to speak, has been identified, then that's where you must hit your enemy back. And at least in the case of Donald J. Trump, we'll see how it works.